Hi everyone, this is Lee. I'm the founder of Business Leaders Rising, and today is our first day of our interviewing of our community members. And I want to introduce you to Leoni here, who's going to come on board and tell us a little bit about herself. So, just a bit of housekeeping before we go into that, in case people are wanting to catch on board and they've missed the start of it. So, there's been a few changes in the group, as you know, and what's happening now is once a week, I'm actually bringing on board a community member. Introduce my members to each other in the group, and also, have a listen to the story of what inspired people to start their business and how they can help us within the community, and also to allow to promote as well. So I've noticed the last few weeks, Leoni's been a bit reaching out and being a bit active in the community. So I invited her on board to have a bit of a chat today. So let's just have a chat and start off with introduce yourself, Leoni, and also tell us a bit about how you got into business.
Okay, excellent. Hi, everybody. My name's Leoni, and my business is Leoni Bolt Photography. So it was really a strange way that I got into photography. When I finished school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I always loved learning, but, I've been working since I was 14 and I didn't know what I wanted to do and I didn't want to go to uni yet. So, I took a gap year, which turned into about 6 years. And I traveled and I backpacked. And during that time, I did actually stop and I did a year of another degree. And because I had the travel bug, I deferred that, kept going and never sort of went back to it. And that was in a totally different field. That was in natural medicine. I was living on Hamilton Island. So that was my first stop. I was 8. As soon as I turned 18, I'd had a couple of months after school to save some money. And I jumped on a plane and I basically hit the pavement with my resume when I got to the island. I lived in a freight container, which was about $20 a week in rent. Actually, I think it might have been about 23. It was more if you wanted the aircon version. But that gave me the opportunity to save a lot of money and, have a lot of experiences. And that's when I bought my first SLR camera. So it was film back in those days. And I spent my days off walking around the island and getting on the boat and whatever with my camera and really just learning how to use it and finding a real love for it. It was while I was there that I actually got asked to train up to join the management team. So that for me meant taking on a full-time role. And I was still quite young, and while I was making my decision, my best friend who was working in the snow as a chef rang me and said, look, I need some staff. I'm struggling to get staff this year. Can you send anyone my way? And I hadn't seen snow at that point. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be a manager. I'm going to go and see the snow. So that's when I realized that my values really center around memories and experiences. And of course, learning is experience as well. So that's what I really value and what I really cherish. So obviously that's kind of why I ended up going into photography. I thought it would be a great way to express myself creatively, travel, and do something that I really, really loved. And I've been lucky that it's been able to grow with me as I've grown. And bring a lot of value to other people's lives as well.
That's amazing. It's amazing how, when we first started, myself, I've been in business a long time, like yourself as well, where, you left school at a very young age and then you started to either travel or create the lifestyle that you wanted. So you had a very strong entrepreneur mindset back even then when you first left school.
Yeah. And it's grown a lot, obviously, since I've, because being in creative industry, you sort of come out and go, oh, look, I've got a degree, I've got an arts degree, everybody's going to hire me because I'm so good, but you have no idea how to run a business. So that even since then has been such a big learning curve for me.
Absolutely. So what are some of the challenges you had to overcome during your business? Because you were saying you've been in business about 15, 16 years. What were some of the challenges, even one or two, that you had to overcome whilst in business?
Yeah, so working with my first real one-to-one mentor taught me so much because I'd been doing all of these sort of casual jobs on the side, working admin, working hospitality, just to make ends meet, working till 2:00 in the morning, editing my photos, shooting all weekend, doing weddings. And I was like, you know what, I've got a degree in this. Like, why am I hustling so hard and still not able to go full time? So for me, it was a big mindset issue around pricing. Because obviously when you're starting out, you're doing a lot for free, you're working for friends, you're building your portfolio, you're building your client base. So I basically had to 10 times my prices to be able to go full time. And so I think a big part of that was a mindset shift for me. So to have somebody to kind of hold my hand through that process was amazing, to be able to, come up with my prices, take on my first clients with my new pricing structure and go, oh, you know what? People will pay me that sort of money.
Absolutely. And these are things as business owners we fear. We have this fear around money. And you're absolutely correct. I've even found that in my own business and when I work with my clients, is when you increase your money, the pricing, people actually respect you more, and you get a whole different client as well. Because, obviously the more money that they've paid out, then the more they appreciate the extra value, the extra service that they get. They appreciate quality along the way as well.
Absolutely. And you see it on a current affair. You see photographers are ripping brides off. It's because they're new to the industry. They're priced really low. They're getting a lot of work, but they can't keep up with the demand. They can't afford to hire anybody. And, they crash and burn because they just don't have the right pricing structure or the business knowledge to be able to keep their business going.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a saying, if you try and pay, was it pay peanuts, you get monkeys? The saying goes. The same thing. If you're going to pay, if you know the industry's rate, if you know that and you've done research, as most of us do online today, and then we find a cheap rate, we've got to realise that there's going to be some sacrifice in service or quality for us to actually get that cheaper rate. And that was an example I actually saw one time when I remember getting professional photo shoots, for example, right? There was the people professional, the studio with all the lighting, all the makeup touches, everything else as well. And their prices were a lot more expensive than someone who pulls out a camera and takes some pics for you. And that sometimes as a business owner, we don't even think, or we don't ask those questions like, what will I get with that? We just think that one's the same, and then we realise we're disappointed because the pictures haven't been touched up, the lighting isn't as good, and obviously being a business owner, we really need to have professional photos because this is our image that we're putting across as well. And you were saying before a bit about, Leoni, that you've moved into a bit of moving into the the branding type or the corporate type look now for business owners. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously you do want to work with somebody that's going to take time to understand your brand, because it is very much about personal branding now. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So you need to be the face of your business and you need to be authentic. People need to see the real you, whether that includes your team, your family, your dog. They want to see the true, authentic you. So what I do when I do the personal branding stuff, especially when we're doing content creation and we've got, we want to get sort of a month's worth of content or 3 months worth of content, you want to make sure that you're getting all of those aspects, and you need to really understand somebody's business so that you can go to the locations that are suitable, include all of the doing photos in their business that they need to include, so that when they do go to create their content, they've got what they need and they've got the negative space that they need to put their text, because what it is that they're aiming to do. And you can create the content to suit that. Otherwise, you just end up with, a bunch of headshots without the right components that you need to tell your story.
Absolutely. And what are some tips you can tell us around photography?
Lighting is a big one. You need to make sure you've got good lighting. And obviously one of those is just face the sun. If you're just working with natural light, if you're in front of a window's a nice diffuser. So that's a great way to just, if you're doing it yourself, or just invest, if you're doing videos and things like that, just invest in, something off eBay that's a continuous light or a ring light or something like that, because you do want to make sure you've got great lighting to come across. And if you're working with a professional, obviously they know how to balance the ambient light and any sort of flash photography that they're going to bring along, so that you don't get shadows under your eyes and your nose and all of that sort of thing, which can be really ugly.
Absolutely. It's a big difference when you see a professional photographer to do it yourself, isn't it? But even people take using their selfies or their phones. What are some tips you would say, if they're using their phones, if they haven't got expensive photography cameras or anything yet, and they want to, I suppose, show a little bit of professionalism with the photos that they actually put onto there.
Yeah. So make sure you have good lighting. Obviously, pay attention to where it's coming from, and you always want to face the light. So essentially, you want it sort of just above you. Like the sun would normally be, just above you, and make sure your camera is stable. So whether that means investing in a little tripod or something like that, if you're doing stuff yourself, or propping it up, if you're propping it up on something on your desk to work with. So you want to make sure it's stable, and just watch your angles as well. We all do the selfie angle so that we don't get the double chin. But if you've got it too close to your face, obviously you're going to end up with a big forehead. You just want to make sure that you still look professional.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on board today and letting us know. So what we'll do is we'll post a bit of if you send us a bit of a link through of your page or your website or something like that, we'll post that just above the video today, so that people can reach out and they can have a chat to you if they want to use your services. How does that sound, Leoni?
Perfect. Thank you, Lee.
Beautiful. And we'll talk to you again very soon. So stay on board once we jump out, and we'll have a bit of a debrief together. How does that sound?
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.